this week's assignment, our group chose to talk about wolves and the time that wolves were repopulated into Yellowstone. Without wildlife, we as humans would not be able to survive. More specifically, without wolves, the ecosystem would be thrown off and other animals would begin to lack necessary and basic needs. The wolf is referred to as an apex predator, which classifies it at the top of the food chain. If there were no predators, single species would become dominant. Many animals benefit from wolf kills. For example, when wolves kill an elk, ravens arrive almost immediately. Coyotes arrive shortly after as well. Bears will then attempt to chase the wolves away, which they are usually successful in, and then the invertebrates consume their remains. Wolves can also help by reducing sick animals' lifespans, in turn limiting the amount of time they can spread infections.
If there's no market for a product, then the price drops and it can go away, or just be sold for cheap. But if it is wolves or an animal that you are talking about that does not start out with a monetary value, then it is even harder. The value of that animal would be how much it is missed when it is gone, or how much it affected when it is gone. Such as in chapter 14 of Collapse on page 427 when it talks about the trout fishery in Montana and how many people enjoyed it. But there was a few people who liked pike and introduced them into the area, and pike ruined the trout population. The exact quote from Collapse is a few fishermen who preferred to fish for pike, a larger fish-eating fish not native to western Montana, surreptitiously and illegally introduced pike to some western Montana lakes and rivers. They were proceeded to destroy trout fishing by eating out the trout. So to the trout fishermen, the trout were worth a lot more now and more scarce, so they are worth even more. Also, the pike fishermen did not care at first, but if the pike run out of food, then they'll be gone too, so now they are worth more to them also.
Hi. So I did my question on does the value change with how many individuals are left? And the answer is yes, that is very true, because there's this thing called scarcity where the limited number of products changes by how much it's worth to the people and how much it's needed. So people will be willing to pay the extra price in order to get what they need. So for this case, it'd be furs or fur pelts, which is huge, not only on the regular market, but on the black market. So for coyotes or for wolves, anything like that, it's a huge gain to have these fur pelts. So people will do a lot, like especially on the black market, to get them. So that's why there's prevention, and then there's different things. So the more rare they are, the more rare a certain type of wolf is, or even rhino, any type of animal, the more that'll be done, thus making it more valuable to the people, because not only are they worth tens of thousands on the black market for their fur, but they're also valuable just to the human, just because of how they look or how they act, because they're really just beauty in the nature. So yes, the value does increase or decrease depending on the number of there is in nature.
When talking about the wolves in Yellowstone, the common question of how many resources should be devoted to save the last wolf is a common question that comes up. Since wolves have such an impact on the food chain in Yellowstone, without them many things could go wrong with the other species, whether it's the other species dying off or overpopulating. Saving the wolves in Yellowstone is worth devoting resources to, so its food chain throughout Yellowstone does not collapse with them. During the 1900s, Congress spent money to move gray wolves from Canada to Montana and from Montana to Yellowstone. The wolves that were brought back into the area of Yellowstone received little human contact, and visitors from the park were not allowed in certain parts of Yellowstone because of this. I think that if there are any resources and funds that are available, they should all be used to save this species, especially if the species has a large role in the food chain like the wolves do in Yellowstone.
So, my question for the assignment was, what should an objective or ethic way to value wildlife be? And I think that since wolves obviously can't talk for themselves, and humans are pretty much the ones that impact their lives the most, we should respect them and put their values as equal to our values. We all are sharing the same home, so that would be the best way to look at it. If we don't value their lives, it could have a lot of negative effects on the ecosystem as a whole.